Hello viewers, you're welcome to my YouTube channel. For those who are visiting for the first time, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Okay, now, so the purpose of this video is basically to help you, my viewers, appreciate the concept of process-based trading over outcome-based trading. And I believe by the end of the subsequent weekly recaps, you'll appreciate that concept. Okay, now let me just get straight into the video. So now this trading week between the 2nd to the 6th of January, you can see I only took 2 trades. And out of those 2 trades, I lost both the trades. So I'm just going to take us through my trading week. Okay, so let me just open my folder for the trading week. Yeah, so now let me just start with the fastest. So now on Monday we had a US bank holiday. That is why we didn't trade on that day there. So as you can see, we had a bank holiday. So I took that day off. Basically, it was a day off. And then on Tuesday, as you can see, we didn't have any news, so it was a valid trading day, right? So on Tuesday, I did take a trade. It was a buy setup that ended up in a loss. So let me just take us through that trade there, right? Yeah, so now let me just open the notes of the trade. Yeah, so now before my trading session, my mental state was good. We didn't have news. So in my H4 time frame, NASDAQ. So basically, I only trade a NASDAQ around the New York open session. That is the only indice that I trade based on my strategy. So on my H4 time frame, I noticed a liquidity level. So let me just open this screenshot. Yeah, so as you can see on the H4 time frame, I noticed we had equal highs. So above these equal highs, we had liquidity. So now my anticipation was that price would push up, clear that level, retrace, and continue pushing up. So now this was what we call a micro uptrend. So price would potentially keep on trending up to these higher levels up here. So that was my projection, right? So I went down to my M15. Yeah, so now as you can see in my M15 time frame, you can see we have we have an uptrend basically. So now up here we had a high that I was anticipating to be cleared. So my plan was now if price could break that high, then I'd look out for a buy entry at retracement. So that was my plan basically, right? So as you can see, my entry. So you can now notice how price played out. So now in my notes, you can notice we had an M15 BAD protocol. So now the BAD protocol is the entry model that I use to place my entries. So let me just show you that model which I use. So these are the entry models that I use to place my entries. So this is a sell model. So usually price has to break a level, then approach. Then we have to see some bit of price upwards. Then towards a decision point area. That is the sell model. Same thing for the buy model, a breaker, aperture price, then a decision point area. That is how I came out with the BAD model. B, which is breaker, A, which is aperture price, then a D, which is our decision point area. So these are the models that I use to place my entries. So now you can notice here on my M15 entry, so price basically broke a level. So we have a breaker there. Then it approached my decision point area. So I had my buy entry there. So I was anticipating for price to keep on pushing up based on my model. But as you can see now on my exit, what we see here is that our price didn't respect my buy zone. So price basically just dropped down during the New York open. Yeah, so we had a loss on this trade. Yeah, so I had a loss of about 0.85%, which was a calculated risk that I took, and the buy setup ended up in a loss. Yeah, so now for further illustration, I'm going to use what we call so now there's a platform that I use for backtesting. It's called the JForex platform. For those who would love to backtest, it's a good software that offers a free replay tool. So what you do, you basically open up a demo account, and then you can backtest. So I'm just going to use this for illustrative purposes, right? So this was, let me look for 3rd of January. Let me put the timer there. Around about the New York Open. Let me just put it at 16:15, right? Right. So this was basically the trade that we took, the buy model that we took, right, on our M15 time frame. Right. So you can notice after the buy entry was triggered, we closed in the lows. My mental state was neutral, and I followed my rules at the end of over the trading day. That is what matters. Did you stick to your rules, or you deviated from them? If you followed your rules, whether you lost or won, the day is considered successful. You followed your rules, basically. So let me jump straight here. So now let me just play it towards that session. Okay, now so around about here, let me just mark it up. So now here we had a high that had to be broken, right? And then we had a filled zone there, right? So now notice what happens. Let me play it. So now notice what happens. Price then basically broke that high there. So now what I was looking out for was an entry somewhere there, right? So I was looking out to buy around this area here, around this area. But as you can see, price just hit my stop loss. So this is basically the trade that I took in summary, right? Okay, now let me just jump straight to the next. Let me see, on Wednesday we had a news, so I didn't trade that day. Let me see the folder. 4th of January. But before we jump there, I usually share my trade codes in my private uh, Telegram group. So you can see the trade that I lost on Tuesday. You can see how I shared it. I shared it here in my private group. So you can see this was my edge for bias. That was my anticipation. This was my buy limit order waiting. My entry got triggered, then we got stopped out. I shared everything in my private Telegram group. For purposes of transparency and accountability, I usually share all my trade calls in this group here. It's my private group. So I was talking about, so now on a Wednesday, we didn't take any trade. We had news. So we had ISM, we had job openings. So you can see I took that day off. We had a news where I took that day off there. Let me see. Yeah, so now this is Thursday. Yeah, so now on Thursday, we took a trade, right? So you can notice on Thursday, we had a news, but the news wasn't after the NY Open. So usually if there's news after the New York Open, I usually don't trade that day. So now we had a ADP non-farm employment change, but now this was before the New York Open, so it was a valid trading day for me. So let me just take us through that trade that we took. Yeah, so now based on the notes I journaled here, of course, my metro state was good. We had no news. Then, so now my bias was still a micro uptrend, right? A micro uptrend. So in my extra time frame, this is what I was able to analyze. So I was anticipating price, to reverse from these levels here and continue going up there. That was my bias basically. And then of course I got a setup on my M15, the BAD SOP, which I've already shown to you. So let me just so my M15 I had something like this that I was seeing. So we had a breaker, right? Then approach of price, so towards this buy zone, right? So I was looking out to buy along this area here. But as you can see, so this was my entry, right? You can see my entry, so I bought along that area there. And I was then waiting for price to reverse. But as you can see, at the New York Open, it didn't go as anticipated. Price basically broke my zone. That is where we ended up in a loss. So I lost about 0.98% of my account. It was a buy setup, not a sell setup. So let me just update that. It was a buy setup. It was a buy setup basically. Yeah, so the buy setup closed in loss for the day. So let me just illustrate it here again. So that was the 50. So let me just mark this. Move further here. The 50. Let me just play this. Okay, so now the New York Open is around yeah, so basically my trades are usually at the New York Open, right? That is when I look out for my entries. So let me just go to M30, right? Make it. Yeah, so I think now this is it. This was the setup, right? Okay, now, so what you notice here, so price filled there, right? Price filled that area. We had a breaker there, price book structure there. Then we also had another breaker there, right? So basically, I was basically looking out to buy along this zone there. That is where I had my buy entry. And then here we had some equal lows, meaning we had some liquidity there. Yeah, so I was anticipating for price, to test this buy zone and then potentially, reverse up, as I already explained here in my, yeah, this was the setup basically. So as you can see, price tested my buy zone and then I got stopped out. That was a trading summary basically, right? Yeah, then on Friday, I didn't take any trade at U2. We had news that day, as you can see, we had news on Friday. We had NFP, we had ISM, so I took the day off. So basically, that was a summary of my trading week. So I took 2 trades and I lost both of them. So meaning my win rate for that week was 0% basically, and I mean a drawdown of about 1.83%. But I'm not really bothered about it because I know my system, and I know in the longer term I will get out of this drawdown here, right? It's all about process, right? Not outcome. So let me just share my the trading details. Yeah, so now as you can see here, for this week, I took 2 trades and a drawdown. As you can see, the drawdown is about 1.83% of the account. But yeah, let us see how the following weeks play out. I believe we shall get out of this. It's all about consistency, focusing on the process, right? Then we shall be able to see that the outcome will play out itself. Our minds should be focused on the process. So now this is my final take. So I'm just going to share a few. Yeah, so let me just share this mindset quote. It says, when taking a loss, most people's first instinct is to get back the money lost at all costs, right? Which often makes things worse, right? So shift your perspective from money-oriented to process-oriented. Yeah, so now the goal is to focus on the process, right? If you focus on money, you're going to get emotionally involved, right? And you just make things worse for yourself, right? Yeah, so I think this marks at the end of the video. For those who have viewed up to this moment, thank you for, for being patient. And once again, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, and you can share the video. I believe that these uploads and the recaps will, help you understand the mind of a trader who is process oriented and not money oriented, right? Yeah, so let me see. I have a Facebook page. Yeah, so now the Facebook page is called LFX Analysis. For those who haven't, seen it, you can visit this page here. It's called LFX Analysis. Even as it loads, let me see. I think there's nothing much to share further. Yeah, so now this is the page. It's called LFX Analysis. You can go there and see most of my work. Most of my work, I have documented it on this page since 2020, right? Yeah, otherwise, let me call it, let me end it here. And yeah, thanks for watching. And, we meet again next week, next weekend when I upload my next recap for the following week. Bye-bye.